Wait, is it your turn or
Is it my turn? I don't know. Everyone's
who's the dad? Whose turn? Wait, no, it's Liam's turn.
Hello, and welcome to the Dad and Sons podcast, featuring
a little bit more oomph.
I don't have the bass that you do. I can't do that.
I'll add bass in the background.
Okay. Hello. Anybody can hum, Matt.
I'm just adding rumble.
Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Hello. Oh my God, that you guys. The timing.
It's probably out of sync. You know, that's probably what it is. It's probably not our ability, but just your internet. That's
We're
what I'm
gonna see
on.
as time goes on in the future if I can slide the time of our humming up in the present to create a new version of the past.
What are you talking about? We're all looking at each other right now in the Dad and Sons office. What is this?
Oh yeah, that's right. That exists.
I mean, if it didn't, we damn well fucking deserve one by now. But yes, welcome to the Dad and Sons podcast, where we might be your dads or your sons. It depends on what kind of side of the bed you woke up that morning.
It might be your daughters too.
It might be your daughters or your mothers, or your wives or your sisters. Joining me, as always, are two of my closest and bestest chums in the world. Matt Visual. Hello, Matt.
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Thanks.
What's crack-a-lackin'?
I'm crack-a-lackin' good, son. Thanks.
Crack-a-lackin'.
And also, George Wiedemann.
Hello,
Hello, George.
It's this boy. It's Messy George.
It's Messy George. Curious George. Extremely too curious for his own good George. What you been doing, boys?
We've been serving drinks to cute anime girls.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you've both been playing the same game. We've been on a roll with this kind of synergy. We've actually started to become like real life
Podcasters?
coverages, people who coverage video games.
It's almost like we're actually deliberately trying for once in our lives.
But you haven't been playing a new game.
It is. Oh well. I
It's
guess
like a
not.
year or so, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, not this week. I
What's new? What's new and exciting? Huh?
Well, I'll tell you soon. But you guys indulge me with your bar tales.
I was saying last week or the week before that, during the questions. I think it was last week.
Yeah, it was.
That there wasn't a sci-fi game where someone's living out their regular lives, and a viewer sent us in Valhalla.
VA11 HA11
A.
Yeah. We're just gonna call it Valhalla. We're just gonna call it Valhalla.
It's like Val 1 Hal 1 A, right? Yeah. And as we mentioned last week, we're all sort of on the come down from Sekiro. We need a bit of a calmer pace in our lives.
Yeah.
And holy shit, is it calm.
It's pretty calm.
I was actually surprised by how minimal the gameplay elements are and how it truly is a visual novel more.
And I gotta say, people are gonna judge me here, but I've played some visual novels.
Oh, I'm already judging.
Ooh.
I've played some visual novels, and some of them are quite good, I must say.
Do you know what? A quick aside to that, I found really intriguing this year. You know how like the April Fools, like every video game company wants to do like an April Fool's joke, like a fake video game announcement or like a spin-off of their main series. The one trend I saw this year that was kind of like I felt bad for people who are into visual novels is like the joke this year was like every game company was making a visual novel spin-off of their series. I must have seen about 10 fake video game announcements that were like popular franchises that were all of a sudden becoming visual novels just for the joke. And I was like, wow, the visual novel community must be pretty pissed off today being the butt of the joke for the whole games industry. But there you go. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't care about them that much to get offended.
Which ones have you played?
Which ones have I played?
Yeah.
we don't need to get into that.
I could hear the sweat bead.
Ooh. You've been truly digging deep into the Japan territory, I bet.
You were digging deep into a hole.
All right, let me see.
Checking that Steam list. Most played games of 2019.
I remember this game about a girl in a wheelchair. That was pretty good. And I can't remember the name. It's about you're part of a club and you get to fly. I don't remember the name. So something like you are my wings or something like that. It's some weird name like that.
Oh my god, that sounds saccharine. That sounds sweet and sour and excessively cute and fucking kill me.
Matt, you on my way.
It was like, I don't know if it was free on Steam or something like that. It was something like that, and I tried it out, and it was actually quite interesting. I was like, oh, okay, this is not bad.
Did you finish it?
Huh?
God.
Did you finish it?
Yeah.
Ooh, did you fly? Did you fly away?
Yes, there's more where you fly.
So is Valhalla a visual novel?
It's not like
Yeah,
that.
it's a visual novel with a little drink mixing mini game attached, but with no fail state.
So it actually has gameplay.
Yeah, but it's extremely basic, extremely easy gameplay.
Okay.
Yeah. There are some drinks that are not on the menu.
Just like most bars?
Yes. They are, and you can kind of unlock extra characters that way too. I played
like
quite
extra
a bit.
bartenders?
No, extra clients.
Clientele.
For the most part, it's very easy. You just have to kind of pay attention to your drinks and what they mean, and like there might be a history for the piano man, and this guy might come in trying to be cryptic about what he orders just for the sake of it.
I want something bitter and strong and also girly and sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, it's kind of like based on requests kind of thing.
Yeah, so you flick through the menu, see what matches the description, and then mix it. And if you fail at mixing it, you just try again. If you serve them the wrong thing, they'll be like, this isn't what I wanted. And then the conversation will still go as normal, resulting in slightly less money at the end of the day, but not... I haven't felt like a real squeeze yet to this economy they have going.
Yeah. Okay, so you're at like there's like another chapter. I didn't know that.
I think it's day 4 that I left off at last night, so I'd be starting day 5 when I hop back on.
Yeah. The next bill is higher. So did you find out what that first bill was? Yeah.
No, it just says subscription to something.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, is it funny? Is it a nice chuckle?
Yeah, and you could miss it. But yeah, it's not like if you're not paying attention, you can miss it. But yeah, because if you don't remember what you're paying for, and then they just like because she doesn't give any indication that she has it, and when she mentions the subscription, so okay, I won't spoil it for you, but it is kind of funny. But yeah, I actually quite like it. The music is really dope. What do you think about the music?
I think it's pretty dope. I think it's great. Very important question, Matt.
Yeah.
Scan lines, on or off?
I take them off.
This
They're
is
too thick for
one
me.
very minority. I don't often choose this. This is the one game where I flicked them on. I think it looks and sounds super hella cool when you're just basking in the the shitty pixel art dystopia with rad neo 80s MIDI synth and like a garish scanline filter that's really one of like the better ones I've seen actually. But yeah, like atmosphere and aesthetics are just mwah, top notch.
All right, so the subjects that they talk about.
Yeah, that's a little rocky road.
It's a rocky road. There's certain conversations that they have, especially about women, that I'm like, Ooh,
Oh, they're filthy.
I really hope that's a woman on the team to kind of share some perspective. Prescription. I was going to say prescriptions for some reason. Because I feel weird when I hear this coming.
I'm wondering which characters you might be talking about. Perhaps, I don't know, the underage sex robot? So, okay, I'm intrigued though. Like, a lot of the conversations do seem like really almost borderline disturbing. Like the newspaper editor especially, like I would love it if there was a button to just ask him to leave. Because for all the talk they say about Valhalla being this comfy, cute, quirky, sit back with the beer and chillax game, that guy made me very uncomfortable. And I'm wondering though if there's like merit to that, if that's the point. I've heard lots about this game over the past couple years, and one was that the conversations can be a lot more disturbing and thought-provoking than they initially let on, and I bet by like diving into uncomfortable topics of cyberpunk gender inequality, then this might be the authorial intent. Is the weirdness we're feeling at this early stage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm deeper in, and it does. The characters are a little bit more complex than just like, oh, I'm this, and this. You know, there's more to them than that. And the conversations that they do have, it's not all like. It seems to soften the blow of some of the conversations that they have. Because before, you don't know the characters, and they're coming in, they're saying stuff, and then that's your first impression. But after a while, you kind of learn about their past, or they learn about what just happened to them and how they dealt with it, and it kind of changes your perspective of how you look at them and how the game is trying to portray them, instead of like just that gut-wrenching first impression. And I think it does so far a decent job at that. It's still a little weird for me sometimes, because it's just like, okay, this is created by a bunch of guys. Hopefully I'm wrong by that. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. It's still a good game, I feel like, so far anyway. I'm on like chapter 2 right now, and things are like a little bit different. And plus the bill that you have to do is a lot higher, which means you can't buy a bunch of stuff. I don't get that mechanic at all. If like you can just buy everything, what happens if you miss everything else?
Yeah, what happens if you can't pay rent?
I think you get distracted, and then you mess up your job, and then maybe you get fired. I don't know. It's a weird game.
Do they write scenarios for that, or I guess I don't see.
You have to test it out. I would say it's. Did you do it with a drink? It's a very relaxing game.
Oh wow. Yes, I did, and I actually did want to fact check you to cover our bases here. I'm looking at the credits. The writer is a Fernando, and the character designer is a Christopher. So maybe you're right.
It's a bunch of dudes. Yeah, I kept looking. I was like, all right, who's in the studio? Because it says the studio, right? And I can't find who's in the studio.
It's called like Pouty Boss Girl Games with cute anime girl logos and cute anime girl arts and cute anime girl games. And I
don't want to get
too
deep on the subject, but it's like, you're a guy. Yes, you can be aware about what.
I got something for you though.
Yeah,
that clarifies some stuff.
Okay, good.
They're from Venezuela. Yeah, really interesting dynamics to the development of this game's story and setting, actually. The hyperinflation and the empty grocery shelves you see at the dystopia in the beginning of the game are informed by people who had to deal with that shit IRL.
Oh, but I mean, it's still guys, though.
Oh, well,
you're talking about
the
overall
underage sex girl robots, talking about how she's like really, really eager to bang everyone she encounters and yearns for it, and very explicit language. It's
Yeah, they don't hold back one.
Never really
And
met anyone like that in my life, can I say?
I have. They do exist. They do exist. Not a sex worker, but like when behind closed doors, when people are not trying to act a certain way in front of people, when people just let go.
Yeah, but they're in a bar together in public.
Well, it's a shady bar which has a few regulars and barely anyone else in it.
What do you think of the newspaper guy?
Say it?
The newspaper guy.
The newspaper guy.
Yeah.
Oh, he is so trash.
He's trash.
Well, we're gonna dive.
He's comically corrupt.
Yeah. I could say that guys don't think that way, but man, let me tell you, guys are assholes.
That's the dynamic, isn't it? Like he's being way more upfront and public about it. I guess kind of the opposite side of not the same coin, but a similar coin.
Mm-hmm. Of the same thing, yeah.
I don't understand how he keeps his job. I don't understand how he has friends.
Are you kidding me? There's plenty of guys like that who are at the top, and you wonder how they're at the top. How? Like, how is it even possible?
How does anyone do business with someone who will openly say, "Oh yeah, I like you because you're conventionally attractive and make my dick hard," and then they sit down and order a drink, and the bartender's just like, "Here you are, sir," instead of being like, "Sir, I'm gonna have to ask you to simmer it down." Like maybe that's the dystopia they're living in. They can't ask customers to simmer down their language dystopia. They can't do anything about sexual harassment dystopia.
Yeah. So what they've created is it's like the old days where that was just like you just have to deal with it. And I'm pretty sure certain bars you just have to deal with it. Like, what do you think about the girls who work at Hooters? You think they don't have to deal with that on a daily basis? I mean, obviously that guy goes an extra step.
I expect they do, and that it takes a very specific kind of personality to have a lot of tolerance for that.
Yeah.
Oh, what I think about them is that they're probably very patient.
Very patient over some dumb drunk idiots.
Yeah. I don't know if the newspaper editor would have earned my patience.
Okay, we're diving so deep into this. We're diving so deep. Do you like it? Poor Liam is in the background.
I'm waving my hand.
I find it ironic that we were talking about characters that we were talking about characters from a female perspective written by men, and then you guys went on a tangent talking about women at Hooters.
Well, I mean,
which is kind of why I wanted to like veer the focus away from the underage sex robot character. That shit's just fucking... I don't even know if I want to talk about it until seeing how the rest of her story goes,
I mean,
you know?
Even though they're a Venezuelan developer, they definitely seem to be rather inspired by Japan. Their name is Sukeban Games, and on their Twitter they say Nihongo okay. So they're definitely heavily inspired by Japan and that kind of thing.
Okay. Let's clarify some things, because just in case you didn't turn off the episode already, or maybe George edited up some of that, they chopped it up like a nice salad. The sex worker she's not a child. She is a robot.
She's a robot, yeah.
And she
looks
wants
like
to
a child.
stay a child because it gives her more customers.
Oh, that's weird.
Yes. Okay, so you didn't get to that part yet? Chapter 4?
It was implied. I think I've had 2 encounters with her so far, and all of them talk about the very particular dynamics of her trade and how that does make her a more popular service provider. Yeah. That's fucking weird.
And they do talk about why she's so... She comes at...
Why she's so thirsty?
Sex, yeah. Why she comes at her job at a very childish manner. Like, I think that might be addressed later on, because they do mention it. It's not like it's just she's this character and no one really understands why. They do mention it. So I mean, I haven't finished it yet, so I can't really tell you, and I wouldn't want to spoil it for you anyway. So
No.
if you continue and don't drop it like Sekiro. Oh,
Ooh.
Yeah, okay,
Segue.
I'm waving my hands. I'm leaning towards yes. I've also heard that it's really, really short. It's a
10 hours?
non-issue to play. Like, you just double-click your mouse a lot through some text, listen to some music, sit back in your chair, occasionally flick drinks with some satisfying Papers, Please-esque tactile feel to a pixel art table menu, and see how these stories go. I have no issues with much stuff other than, some of the stereotypes and topics that they're tackling seem like they are like kind of rubbing me the wrong way at the beginning, but I expect these characters to get sloppy, drunk, depressed at some point and open up through some bar counter confessions that are going to make them more interesting.
alcohol is a very interesting tool.
On Liam's note, I think one of them did move to Japan. Presumably because
Do you know, it's really funny. Like, I'm casting my mind back. I'm pretty sure last year I actually met the guy who made it.
God
dang it, Liam.
You did.
God dang
my
it.
god.
Honest, like, I'm just, because I remember at Bit Summit there being a Valhalla booth, and then I remember because in Japan it was being published by Playism, I think, which is one of the Japanese, like, English language games into Japanese indie games, so Japanese audiences could play it. There's, like, two major publishing companies over here, Playism and Dangen, and at the time, some people who now work at Dangen were working at Playism, who were good friends of mine, and they were working with those guys or something. I remember, because obviously Venezuelan developers is not very common.
Probably not going to be living in Venezuela these days either.
I know the Brazilian guy who makes Momodora as well. There's a couple of people from South America who are pretty prominent developers, and they are seemingly quite inspired by Japan, and find a lot of influence in Japan. If you look at games like Valhalla or Momodora, they are heavily inspired by Japan, so it's not a surprise that they come over to like Bit Summit and stuff like that. Even more interestingly enough to me is that in the West, it's published by a small Welsh publisher, like a publisher from Wales. That's really weird.
What a weird game. They made a Switch version where you can shake the Joy-Con to mix the drink.
Oh, that's cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's crazy to see that on Switch because it is not Nintendo friendly. Let me tell you, it is so far away from Nintendo friendly. Holy crap! You thought Bayonetta was far.
Okay, yeah. If we're gonna get into specifics, I think there's a conversation with the underage sex doll robot who's also a sentient person. They like have robot rights in this universe. There's a conversation where there's about 3 paragraphs away from her from your bartender specifically asking if she's either supposed to look like a 12 or a 13-year-old, and then that character saying like, "Oh, don't you want to ravage every hole in my body for purposes they weren't intended for?" And that's
No. It didn't go like that. But yeah, she did say those words.
It was something close to that.
No, like Jamie, which is another client for Gillian, which is across. I played this game way too much the past couple. When I know names of characters, I played way too much because I never remember names.
Are people gonna do that in the 2070s dystopia future?
Jamie was also like, he has like modified parts on his body. Was asking Dorothy questions. And he was being extremely polite, and Dorothy was just trying to be like, "Oh, my services are this," and Jamie's like, "No, that's not what I wanted." And he wanted to know more, right? Because he was like, "Okay, obviously she's a sex worker." So he asked the question, like, how so these are the type of the subjects that they talk about in the game. It's not all about this roughness. He asked the question of nano machines or nano trackers being released onto the client after and he goes after ... and then she says that line.
Who
and he's
says
like,
that line?
Yeah.
Who in real life has said that line in a bar?
That's what's weird.
I find it hard to imagine a sex worker saying that line in a bar around other people.
Yeah, that is. She's over the top. She is over the top. I'm already invested. I have to finish it to see where this goes, because there's no way that this game has so many overwhelmingly positive reviews. There's got
to be something there. Yeah,
there
has to be something there.
It does have like 10,000 reviews on Steam, and it holds like an average of like 10 out of 10. That's pretty crazy.
It's a beloved. Like, I'm scrolling down the comments on their blog announcing the Switch version, and a fan is like, another version of another game that I will come back to time and time again. And I don't know if we're there yet, Matt. I don't know if we're at that part of the game yet.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna finish it and see how I feel next week. Have it, and I would say don't drink too much because they start talking about some deep issues, and you're like, wait, what?
Wait, if your character,
which I usually do.
You guys have been drinking along while you play, right?
They have a disclaimer in the menu asking you to.
Nice.
That is the suggested way to play.
And, usually when I call our friends, that's what we talk about. But my gosh, like, you don't expect it the first time. You're just like, you're just getting a nice light tipsy, and all of a sudden some deep conversation pops, and you're like, okay, I got to pay attention here.
So if you get sloppy drunk IRL, you get sloppy drunk in the game.
If only.
Anyways.
But yeah, that's Valhalla. All right, Liam, what have you been playing?
Well, speaking of Nintendo friendly.
Yes, there we go. I didn't want to hear about the first one.
Yes.
Speaking of Nintendo friendly, I have been immersed in the world of tomorrow.
Epcot. World of a few years ago. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, sure.
You're finally among us.
Technically, I guess. Yeah, so I got my Labo VR kit. I've only managed to build three of the kits, including the goggles itself, like the actual VR sort of headset thing. I built the blaster and the camera. So there's two more that I haven't built that I need to build. But no, like I received it on Friday. It was a lot bigger than I had imagined. And I was kind of looking at it, and I was like, oh, shit, this is going to take a while. And I was sort of, like, skim reading some reviews. We spoke about it in Discord, and I was like, oh, shit, dudes, this is getting some positive reviews. Ha, 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 ha. And everybody was mentioning that it takes, like, 9 hours to build them all. And I was like, fuck, I don't have 9 hours this year, let alone this weekend. So, I got incredibly drunk on Friday night.
Yeah.
I'd visited a bar from Valhalla, and then on Saturday, while incredibly hungover, I tasked my friend who was staying with me to build it for me. I was too hungover. So he put together the blaster and the goggles, and then, much to my stupidity in my hungover state, I spent like an hour playing VR, which made me so sick. So first impressions, not so great.
You got motion sickness?
Well, I was just hungover, so I don't think it was the VR, because then the next day, so on Sunday, this was kind of when I began my VR experience. Though on Sunday it was absolutely fine. So you have like you build the headset essentially. Like, I don't know what else to call it other than like the headset, which is the sort of yellow box that you hold to your face. And then what happens is with the other kits is that this headset then slots into like the front of those kits. So there's like an area in each different kit: the blaster, the camera, the elephant, the bird, and something else. And it slots in there. So you have to build that first. So I built that, and then that has like a few mini games that you can play. Like you can use the another, like you hold it to your face and you can use like a Joy-Con to interface with it. Like there's games where you can manipulate the physics of a room and everything around you is moving in slow motion, or you can like throw things, and there's like a weird golf game where you can use one Joy-Con to sort of smack balls into targets. There's like a baseball game. There's kind of like standard Nintendo Wii Sports fare, and for your first VR experience, if you haven't really done VR before, I can imagine it's pretty impressive. You just put together this cardboard thing, and then all of a sudden, you're like doing something and interfacing with this piece of cardboard. It's really intriguing.
Is it crisp? How's the image quality?
Okay, so let's get into it.
Yes.
Of course, it isn't. It isn't. It does, for the most part. If you're standing straight and you're looking, like, you'll notice the pixels, but everything is pretty crisp, and you can see everything. But when you start to move, it is definitely like you're looking through butter. Like someone's just gone and, like, fucking stuck a knife in a big tub of butter and just, like, smeared it all over your Nintendo Switch.
Do you know why that is?
Because I guess it's 720p on the screen, and then they're splitting that into two images, so it's running two different things at 480p.
Right, which is
yeah.
all right. So I wanted to know, because in the trailer you had Mario going all the way in the background, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, no,
and
like that's gonna be I don't know what's gonna happen with Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild. Whether they're gonna like when you switch on the VR mode, they're gonna like cull down the log.
yeah.
Details.
See, now it's weird. Now you don't know how it's gonna go.
No, because like what I was saying about like head tracking and stuff, like I'm fully understanding what they're gonna do with it now. They are gonna have head tracking. It's not gonna be just 3D. It will have head tracking. This thing works incredibly well. Like it's almost 1-to-1. Like the gyroscopes, because it's obviously using the gyroscopes. It doesn't track your actual head. It just moves wherever you're facing to start with.
You have rotation and height. Wait, no, can you change your height, or is it all just rotation?
Yeah, no, it's 360 movement. You can move around a whole room, like in 360 motion, up, down. It's fantastic. Like it works really well. Like minus the resolution, which is probably for some people going to be too much. Probably you guys, like it's going to be too much. It's too much of a jump down. It can be quite frustrating at times, but everything else on top of that, the way it works, it feels like seemingly 1-to-1 with your movements, because you've got the thing on your head, so you know exactly where you're moving, and if the image was kind of slower than your actual like head movement, it would feel really weird, but it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it works really well. But what makes it kind of weirdly special... Now, this is the thing about it. Like, if it was just the headset and it had all these mini-games and you interface with the Joy-Cons, I kind of would think, like, do you know what? It was kind of more of a miss than anything. Like, when I tried with the goggles for the first time, I was like, oh, this is great. And they had, like, some 3D videos and stuff, which are in super... It's like watching 240p YouTube videos back in the day. But... I was like, yeah, it's fine. But it wasn't until I built the blaster, and George, you have experience building the Labo stuff in the past. The building is quite fun.
Oh yes.
But the
music
was truly
funky,
a rather
fresh.
magical experience to play with the blaster for the first time.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of positive impressions about the blaster specifically. What do they have you doing with it?
It's so it's basically like a kind of, I guess, like a shotgun. So the idea is that you have like you don't have like a traditional trigger where it's your finger. You have like, you hold it on the barrel, and then you have like sort of like a gun handle, but you press your thumb in like on a button, like on a cardboard button, and that fires like bullets. But the idea is you fire one bullet and then you reload it. And you reload the barrel with this like there's like a kind of like a cardboard square underneath it that you pull back and reload.
A shotgun lever, it looks like.
kind of like a shotgun lever. It's definitely more like a shotgun, but it's presented as a weird like sci-fi blaster. Now, on the screen, you have it right in front of you. It's weird. It's kind of like the original Doom, like with the gun in the center of the screen, right in front of your face. And everything you do, if you press the trigger to shoot, the gun on the screen also does it. And if you reload, it like does a reload animation as well. And it's 1-to-1. But the reload, the way the like internals of the cardboard it has like 2 cardboard blocks that are tied together through elastic bands. And when you pull it, it really has like a tug to it. And it feels like it goes...
Yeah, Matt, remember the fishing line?
Really cool. Because you're not looking at a piece of cardboard, you're looking at like the gun in front of you.
That rubber band tension.
Yeah, it's
gratifying.
It's super weird because you become more immersed because you feel like you're just reloading your gun. Because it's not like it has like a really tough... It's not hard to pull back, but it definitely feels like something. It feels like you're reloading your gun.
Motion controls became good when VR became a thing. Like, it makes a real difference. That the PlayStation controller is night and day.
Yeah, I get like the having the shape like in front of you kind of thing, and with the trigger would be really cool. But like, what's so amazing about this one is maybe not the trigger itself, but just the reload. It feels so like tactile. It really is like kind of freaks you out a little. You are literally just like reloading a gun, and you have to reload it to shoot on the screen. So you have to do something physical outside of like being inside of the VR to do it. And that kind of is what really immerses you in. And the way the levels are designed, it's like an on rails shooter where you're shooting like aliens. It's kind of like a weirdly old school type of shooter, just like loads of aliens hopping around the cityscape. There's like some hidden around. You can sort of do 360 motions, and you can like freeze the time and try and like lock onto them, RDR, Deadeye style kind of thing. And it's really good. It's easily the best one I've had so far. But it is definitely like this tactile feel that makes it really special, because the camera itself, like the camera is like this ocean game where you're underneath the water and you take pictures of fish and also other little secrets that can appear in the stage. And you can go up and down in this hole down to the bottom of the ocean, then up, and then right up to the surface, and you can see like the whole landscape around you. But what makes that super special is that you can zoom in. It has like a cardboard lens on the front of it. So the idea is you hold it like you're holding a camera up to your face, and there's one Joy-Con that's sitting at the front that you press to take the pictures, and then the other Joy-Con is sitting inside of the lens. But when you rotate the lens, it goes and has like an awesome feel to it. It like has like 2 pieces of cardboard where this cog is like constantly going while you're zooming in, and then it gets to a point where you can't zoom in anymore, and you can really feel it in the cardboard. You can't zoom in, and then you have to zoom back out, and it goes and it's 1-to-1 every time you do it. It's fantastic. Like everything that has like a really physical like thing to it, like not like it feels like you're holding something that's the same shape or something, but when you have to do like physical actions that interact with it is really when it becomes quite special. Yes. So like the zooming in of the camera, hearing the sound of like the lens clicking, and then the tension of it getting to its maximum zoom and then having to zoom out, the blaster doing the reload. And I understand now why they have this weird like wind pedal thing that you can build for the bird. So like when you're flying, you flap like this wind pedal, so it is like blowing wind in your face. So it feels like you have wind while you're flying. I absolutely 100%.
This is
I 100% get that it looks absolutely dumb as fuck.
So
but now I get
pedal fan.
Yeah, but now I get it.
Blow wind.
Because when you're in there, anything physical like makes you even more in there. I would honestly, I'm going to go back to like what I said last week, for the price, especially now I've played it, it is a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to pick one up over the weekend. Question's going to be, should I get the cheap one or the expensive one, depending on what kind of video I guess I want to make.
The expensive one has all of them, but the cheap one is the one that comes with the blaster. And so far, even the camera one is really fun and stuff, but the blaster is the one that truly is the fun one. And even though they're kind of short and stuff, but they have these special moments. Like there's boss fights and stuff in them. And like you'll have like the first boss in the blaster is like this giant city-sized enemy crab. And you're just like staring up at this giant crab. And you have to like shoot all it's kind of like a Star Fox boss fight where you have to shoot all of its weak points, and you're like blasting away, and you have this giant crab trying to stand on you. It's fucking awesome.
So,
it's really cool.
As a longtime fan of control scheme gimmicks and unconventional genres, I've always been a longtime fan of VR. The medium kind of prods up control gimmicks and unconventional genres, and it's a big relief to like know that Nintendo is aware and that control gimmicks and making satisfying, fun VR controllers was seems like more of the focus here than other aspects of it.
The weird cardboard controllers are what make this thing so special. Like the VR is like a means to an end. It is a means to interface with this that immerses you more because it's obviously not high tech. I do fear about trying to play like this becoming like what VR is now, where you can play a lot of games just all the way through in the VR headset. I don't think you'll ever be able to do that on Switch. Like, I think playing Zelda will be fun, and now it has head tracking. I'll be able to like jump off mountains in Zelda and like float down to the bottom, and I'm sure it'll be exciting for a while. But like the idea of playing the whole game, unless they do some weird tech tricks to like cull the Lord, I can't imagine playing in that resolution for a long time.
And it also turns out that you do not need to keep the Joy-Con slotted in after all, right?
No, you don't.
Thank God.
Because the Switch is the one that actually has the gyroscope inside of it. So if you can like hack together yourself a headset, like I've been following like DIY threads for people who've put like ski goggles, things like straps attached to it, so then they can just wear it without it, and you can use a Pro controller. I might actually do that. Feels like it could be a good. I mean, if you fuck it up, you just buy a new one for like $30. It's so cheap.
How well does it feel on your face? It looks like
it's actually quite comfortable.
Soft padding.
And yeah, it doesn't really have any padding, but because it's really light. Even though it's got an actual Switch console in there, it actually feels really light compared to other headsets I've worn.
Are the lenses plastic or glass?
They are plastic, I think.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
They're definitely kind of like a weird plexiglass type thing. Mm-hmm. They're definitely not glass.
Let's see, what other burning questions did we have? It'll be... I guess the next big stop is seeing what the Breath of the Wild and Mario modes are like.
Like, the best analogy I can give it is like the first time I played Wii Sports. Like, not the greatest game in the world, but it's just really different.
This looks like more fun than Wii Sports. Just saying.
I mean, but the idea that you were using a controller gimmick to interface with the game in a way that hadn't been done before kind of thing. Even though VR is definitely something that is, in other places, a much more immersive experience, like truly being in VR. This is like a weird, like, you're immersed because your body senses that you're doing physical stuff that changes the world that you're seeing in front of you.
Yeah.
What have you played in VR? Have you tried VR yet? Other than this?
Yeah, I've tried it. I just haven't owned it technically until now.
Like, have you tried more than a session? Like, more than like 30 minutes of it?
I did borrow a Oculus Rift for about a month at one point, and that was quite early days though. I spent most of my time playing people's hacked together demos of like Half-Life 2 and stuff. So
no Rec Room or anything like that?
No. I played stuff like Tetris Effect in like VR, and I've played Zone of the Enders and stuff like that.
Oh, did you guys hear that Superhot VR outsold the original?
Yeah, the VR
made more revenue.
I told you it's the better version.
It's awesome.
You remember me being a lunatic on TOVG, and Gerard was like, well, "Why do you like this so much? Like, what do you see a future in this?" Like, I was like the lunatic. I was like, oh my gosh, the VR Super Hot is the better one. And then you came over here and sweated for like.
Yeah. You just had to strap me in for 10 minutes, and then I made my decisions.
And that was the end of that.
I will admit, this makes me want to dive more into VR.
VR is great. Ooh, it looks like they have a 3D paint app in here too, so I can draw some dicks.
That's the Element one. I haven't tried that yet.
I got a scenario for you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Dads and sons, and maybe even daughters. If you have a romantic partner over on the couch, and a VR 3D paint app set up. I can at least attest that one person in my life really appreciated it when I 3D painted her like one of the French girls.
One of the games in the paint app on the Labo VR is actually like a charades based drawing guessing game where you draw something and then you hand it to another person and they have to guess it.
That's cute.
Yeah. There's like quite a lot of like, I guess this is why they didn't have the strap, which is still a dumb idea, but a lot of it is like multiplayer stuff where you go first and you take a turn and you do stuff and then you hand it immediately to someone else and then they respond or do something in the same game.
Also, regarding the strap, I'm literally expecting it not to be any more complicated than like tape and an elastic band.
I mean, elastic band on hair, not a good idea.
Oh, well, I'll just shampoo extra hard.
Just buy like a ski mask and take the goggles off. Ski goggles. Take the straps off.
I might have some elastic lying around here somewhere.
Oh, wow. Questionable.
What's questionable about having basic crafting supplies for occasional video usage?
Oh.
For occasional murders.
Video usage. Are we talking about the channel or something else?
I don't know. Officer, why don't we take a walk outside instead of in here?
Sure. Lead the way.
Shit.
I thought that was gonna lead to the break, but I guess did you enjoy GOT? Did you enjoy GOT, Liam?
Did I enjoy Game of Thrones? Did I enjoy Gotti?
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it being back. I didn't think it was a good episode.
No.
It was
6
like,
episodes left. It was only an hour. Nothing happened.
I mean, one thing happened.
I mean, obviously, one thing happened.
One thing happened. Like one thing that happened.
Everyone is talking about.
But that's it.
That's it. All the good stuff that happened at the end. Like it could have made
needed
like a
to go on
10-minute
that weird
episode. And that's it.
Yeah.
Hello, Auntie.
I didn't think they needed to go on the little like dragon ride.
Yeah. That's.
I'm happy it's back though. I'm enjoying watching new stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird.
As weird as it is to say.
Seeing everyone kind of join in on a collective television event. I feel like everyone's in the airport watching the last episode of Seinfeld together or something here. This feels like a relic from a decade or two ago. This kind of event.
It is weird. It's kind of like the biggest TV and biggest movie event happening in 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
Strange.
Yeah, I kind of like that. It's like what was the?
It's like the world
Lord
is
of the Rings
stopping.
was like that, and The Walking Dead was kind of like that too.
Everyone binges shows and watches them at their own pace. It was surreal seeing everyone get off the internet for an hour and do something together in real time.
Immediately, I avoided Twitter all day and immediately just had to watch it because I knew it'd get spoiled for me.
Yeah, people.
Not that there was anything to spoil.
Yeah, people just don't really care, do they? They just like to spoil things, don't they?
Yeah, I feel like people are getting weirder and weirder about the spoilers and just being like, I don't care, I'll just ruin someone's day.
Have we?
'Cause
We might have been guilty of that
have...
ourselves, I think.
Have we?
I'm trying to remember of
about a show or a game. Because we definitely spoiled Valhalla, but how many people are going to play that game?
But people are coming here to listen to a discussion. When I browse through it, I don't want to see someone be like, "Oh my God, Jon Snow did what?"
That's good.
People come here on purpose. I feel like it's a little different, but yeah, people are definitely a bit more like, "Oh, if I say the spoiler, people engage in me." On Twitter, woo.
Yeah, and then you link your SoundCloud. How does everyone have a SoundCloud? How's that even possible? How's everyone trying to get into music?
They start a podcast with friends.
Not technically, we have a SoundCloud.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay, wait a minute. Like
we're literally on SoundCloud right now.
Right now.
But this is different. This is different from some random person. Like everyone has a SoundCloud with music on it. Everyone who has a viral tweet. Isn't that weird to you? That 80% of a viral tweet has a SoundCloud link to it.
Well, see,
like,
I've seen,
subscribe to my YouTube channel.
There are people who don't, and those people have webcomics.
Okay, that's better.
Or a YouTube channel.
I haven't seen a YouTube channel linked that much.
No, but how many people do you know have a YouTube channel?
Oh, there's plenty. But it seems like the SoundCloud is just overwhelmingly like more the numbers than YouTube or webcomics. I barely see that. And in webcomics, when you see someone draw something, someone took their time to make something. That's something totally different than someone just pooping out a tweet and then saying I make music. It just so happened to go viral, and then now I make music. No, it's weird. Sorry, am I being ignorant in this? I don't know. Whatever. Somebody will yell at me on Twitter.
It's an interesting thing to be mad about.
I'm not mad. I never get mad at anything.
I saw a silly trash movie that might be fun to talk about.
Will it now?
Yeah, you guys ever seen clips from a 1980s movie called Teen Witch, where some really bad at rap white guys try to rap, and the bit was called Top That. It's an infamous internet clip. Top That Teen Witch. I will link you guys to see if you've seen this before. Basically, I saw the entire movie that this clip is from, and it's a cheesy, schmaltzy, kitschy 1980s for-girl movie about a girl who uses magical witch powers to become the hottest, popularest girl in school and get her boy, but then she decides that she really just needs to believe in herself and follow her rainbow, and that the real magic was the friends she made along the way. And I am fucking glad that that's not the message of a lot of children's media anymore. I am so glad that phase went away, and now, like, if any kid wants to be Spider-Man, it's because of some extenuating circumstances forcing the fact that they have to like learn and adapt to and develop skills around, because the patronizing guff of that kind of message comes from what I feel was a real learned experience in my lifetime of having to learn how to do small talk and socialize with people. That being myself earlier than that was an actually like unattractive personality type that I had to work to change, and that it has made my life better and other people's lives better. Why did we tell kids to just be their own shitty selves for so long, when there's a lot of kids who have shitty personalities that they can like learn social skills and interesting topics and manners and politeness to overcome that struggle with?
I definitely like the idea of you going around to children and just being like, "Don't be yourself. You're a shitty person.
Be my idea."
Children are assholes by default.
Be my idea of good people.
We put kids through school and shit to turn them from greedy little monsters that smear shit all over your upholstery with their fingers into people who know how to say please and thank you before and after sentences.
So, were you a shitty kid?
Yes.
This is
I was a shitty kid who tried too hard to fit in with the cool kids, and it didn't work until I grew up and became an adult and put myself in a situation where I very rapidly had to learn small talking social skills or be arrested by the cops for illegally camping during my bike tour. Yeah, I don't know. I felt deeply offended by the underlying morals and message of the 1980s teenage rom-comedy Teen Witch.
Did you enjoy it though? Was it good?
Oh, it was fun trash. Yeah, it was good for a giggle.
That's what matters.
Totally. Yeah, that's the movie I watched this week.
Oh my god. Okay.
It's been a good week for us all.
Has it?
Well, you and me, maybe.
Okay, I played a little bit more Spider-Man. Well, a little bit more. I played a few hours more of Spider-Man. And
Spider-Man.
my impressions of that game were juggling between... Oh, God. I don't want to dwell too long on it because I'm going to say the same fucking thing everyone else has said, and that is that it's a slick, polished, well-produced thing that you've played a jillion times before. And, I worry that there's an underlying element of soullessness to it. Like, I have a question for you guys, and that is, how much of that game do you remember?
Quite a bit of the story stuff.
Okay, the tone got really weird all of a sudden. There was a terrorist attack. Hundreds of people died. They're, like, evoking 9/11, and that put the thing in a tonally weird place.
Why?
Because it's
I mean,
it's
you watch a lot of
Spider-Man.
movies that have terrorist attacks and stuff like that. Why Spider-Man? Spider-Man films and stuff have explosions all the time.
It's very hard for me to imagine Spider-Man swinging between Tower 1 and 2 while the plane's on its way, making a quip like, hey guys, sorry to keep you hung up. That's why.
I mean, I don't really know how to answer that. It's Spider-Man. He saves the day no matter what's happening, but he has a personality.
That's the reason why
I thought the story was probably one of the better parts of it.
I'm the only one who liked it, apparently. I even said it when
was
Jim
okay.
was on. Jim was like, oh no. Jim was like, not going to say anything about this one.
What do you mean you're the only person who... This is one of the highest rated games that you've just got 87 on Metacritic. Everyone was jerking off to this game for a good month last year.
You know who agrees? Nitro Rad. And he's the only one who matters.
Oh, James. He's a good boy.
So, yeah, the scene where we see a first-person viewpoint of Miles Morales discovering the shocking revelation of a dead young loved one that fades to black and says 2 weeks later with no music in the background, when all of a sudden Jay Jameson comes on and starts screaming about conspiracy theories behind the latest terrorist attack that hit New York City. It reminds me of the day when...
Oh, I'm sorry. Doesn't that remind you of a real life person named Alex Jones who also did the same bullshit and about hoaxes about...
Yeah.
Yeah, no, which is a real thing that happened. It's a real thing.
So it's very hard for me to imagine Spider-Man swooping into Alex Jones showing up at Sandy Hook Elementary and saying, sorry guys, I didn't want to keep you hung up when... a lot of tonal weirdness in this.
Would you not rather, if you were being saved from terrorists, would you not rather have a reassuring Spider-Man who's trying to make you laugh through one of the most horrific experiences of your life?
No, because it's not real.
Then what is your complaint?
I just feel kind of dead when I'm playing it. You press the same 3 buttons over and over again on the correct frames, and it feels good, and I'm smiling, and I'm happy, and I'm having fun when I'm doing it. I don't know if I feel like a human when I'm playing this game. It's hard to describe. And you do it over and over again. Is cheap thrills the term? Like when I'm playing Valhalla, I don't know if I even like it as much, but I feel like I'm experiencing this complex soup of weird human emotions. There are thoughts going through my head when I play one of these games, and there aren't when I'm playing Spider-Man.
I think he's gonna like Valhalla. How depressing it gets.
King, and they know it. When I snap my fingers, everybody says sure, I'm hot, and you're not. But if you want to hang with me, I'll give it one shot, top that.
Supersonic, idiotic, disconnected, not respected. Who would ever really want to go and top that? Such a waste of pretty face, but hanging in your nose space. I wish that you would take a look and really stop that. Top that. Well, stop that. I don't really give a about trying to top that. Top that. Stop that. I wish you finally take a real look and really stop that.
What's this?
Stop that.
But give.
Top that. I don't really give a about trying to stop that.
Top that.
Big deal.
Stop that.
Unreal.
You can try to, you blue.
I will make a fool of you.
Top that.
Hello, and welcome back to the Cave of the Dad and Sons podcast, where you are welcome anytime to discuss with us the various news topics of our wonderful industry.
Welcome to the sad cave.
Add the echo in post.
Yeah, we go over live to our correspondent, who weekly reports on the fascinating news. George.
Actually, yeah, this week more fascinating than usual.
True. This week, yeah.
We have 2 console reveals this week, technically speaking.
One super fucking weird and another super fucking weird.
Sony's doing the year ahead tease. This reminds me back in 2004. I saw an article in the copy of the official PlayStation magazine my dad was buying for me as a kid, where they talked about how the next console would use Blu-ray and how it was going to be a revolutionary new way of building consoles because the laser on the disc was blue and you could put like 40 gigs on them.
Yeah.
They historically have teased the next generation a year ahead of time with kind of like soft hype building about some tech specs before, and that's happening now in 2019 with regards to whatever the next PlayStation's going to be, probably the PlayStation 5.
This is the weirdest way to officially announce a new console.
I don't know if we want to call it an announcement or not.
It is. It's a full acknowledgement that a PlayStation 5...
It's an acknowledgement, yeah.
Yeah, but it's not that. Everybody, thanks to like Google Stadia and all this kind of stuff that is like whatever the next generation of gaming is going to be. People have been questioning it for like 2 years now. Is this the death of the consoles? The Switch is like this weird hybrid that will be able to sort of sit on its own because it does this other thing. But in terms of like traditional box under the television type consoles, is this like the final generation? But now it's like PlayStation and Sony are just kind of like, nope, we're doing this 8K thing that'll have backwards compatibility, it'll have PSVR and all this other stuff, and it has like a solid state drive, and yeah, we're making it. And
so,
we're going to tell Wired about it.
Wired had an exclusive interview with Mark Cerny and a little bit of a demo where they just kind of sort of ran Spider-Man in some more beefier hardware where the camera can swoop through the city faster to get us a little bit hyped for whatever the next console is going to be. There's an 8-core AMD GPU. They're pushing ray tracing. One little interesting aspect of the tech here is a dedicated audio processing chip. He talks a lot about the importance of high-quality 3D audio design, and Matt and I, and now Liam, might have realized that when you can move your head around in a VR world and have point of references that line up with your actual ears for audio... Actually, come to think of it, that's a good question, is how the Labo VR does audio.
Well, that's even weirder because that has the audio like playing... If you're not wearing headphones, it's obviously playing right in front of your face. because the Switch is on your face, so the speaker is right there. It is kind of it works. It really works. Anyway,
want to try it with headphones eventually because that's like the next step up in immersion. Like audio is really important for good VR experiences, and the evangelist in me wants to suspect that's why they're pushing it. Because another big factor of this that gets me tickled pink is that they've said already in this weird like year ahead before a official reveal of the console itself, they have already said that it will be backwards compatible with current PSVR sets. And I would not be surprised if they did a PSVR 2 when this generation rolls around, because the PSVR could use some big upgrades for major setbacks it's facing. Those controllers specifically need to be replaced. But this does take the pressure off of people like Liam, who know that the next generation is going to be coming, but are still interested in buying PSVR for now. Cerny says they're not going to go into details of that VR strategy other than the backwards compatibility, and that VR is very important to us. Evidently, they're still hiring people for VR, but this console also will not be at E3. It won't be at 2019, so very much consider this like a tease of
weird
of an announcement.
It's weird. It's weird because people don't realize it will have like adverse effects on PlayStation 4 sales. Like people will be like, "Oh, there's a new thing coming out. Why would I buy the old one?"
And it feels like it's happening a little faster than usual. And then I looked at the date, and we're like hitting a 5-year generation, like in the 90s and aughties. The previous 7-year generation was an exception. It's about time. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a new console, a next-gen console reveal at E3 next year.
Oh yeah, I don't know. PlayStation and Sony aren't even at E3 anymore, so
I feel like nothing's been released. I feel like the only thing, maybe the Switch has been doing well. I'm talking more about
the Switch has been out for 2 years already,
and it seems to already be doing.
Oh, that's why the
else.
generation feels so young. Actually, is because the Switch just came out, and it feels like such a great pillar next to the current ones. Whereas the Wii U was this weird, like middle generational thing that had more specs in common with the previous one.
Yeah, well, not even that. Like this generation has also been dominated by like VR as well, and having like VR be this
VR is about
generation.
As new as the Switch too, and in terms of like mass popularizing it and getting the more successful products like the PSVR and the Microsoft lineup of headsets going. So yeah, this generation also saw a mid-step up of upgraded consoles like the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro, and Microsoft unveiled another one, a new version of the Xbox One that is the Xbox One S All Digital Edition.
Did they learn nothing from the PlayStation Go?
I don't know if this is for me, and I don't know if I'm going to have a strong opinion about this so much as saying that the Xbox One SAD reminds me a lot of that disastrous reveal they did in 2013, where the original version of the Xbone they revealed was discless. It pushed heavy TV features. It had the mandatory Kinect. All I can say is if they're going down this road, thank God they're doing it now, years later, as an optional rather than the mandatory way of rolling out their console. Thing is, though, like, it's only $50 cheaper. And the
I was
loss...
gonna say the price is weird. I'd be interested if it was like $150 because I download most of my games digitally anyway, and Xbox Game Pass sounds like a fun time. But like $200, I'll just shell out the extra $50 for a fucking disk drive.
That sounds like they're marking off the cost of a cheap disk drive from the hardware, when for the consumer's point of view, they are losing a lot of value off of the permanent record of collections that having collection of discs can give. I bet people would be more down for this than they think if the price was a lot cheaper. Yeah. And it does make sense to me. It makes a hell of a lot more sense to me doing this now than building the whole console off of it and doing a reveal. In fact, I'm almost surprised there aren't more discless options as like physical media and discs go away. I just want
Well,
to make sure I
considering
have.
Microsoft are rumored to want to step into like streaming as well,
Yeah.
if this is kind of
that's-
their move forward, then this is their sort of tasting the water a little bit.
In my opinion, you're going to release something like this. Yeah, you release it cheaper. Maybe a little bit smaller if you can. The storage has to be bigger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
how much
the
is the
thing.
storage?
They're gonna save money on disk drives, but they're gonna have to spend more on hard drives.
And
How much is the
it's
storage?
1 terabyte. And if you can, make it an SSD. If you can. Now I know I understand that's hard. But if it had to be a 1 terabyte, make it an SSD. And then drive
That's
it
what-
home like an SSD, because everyone always switches it out anyway.
Yeah. That's what Mark Cerny's real hyped about the next PlayStation. He's real hyped about them switching over to SSDs.
Because hard drives are slow, man.
After you
Yeah.
get an SSD, you notice the difference, yeah.
It's drastic. It's night and day. It's not like some type of thing that's like, oh, no, that's just for luxury. No, it's a huge difference.
And it's interesting hearing in the PlayStation interview for the new PlayStation, Mark Cerny's talking about how game design should change to accommodate that. Loading screens should be less common now. Loading multiplayer games that have you selecting a loadout during a loading screen is a dynamic that he expects will change as the SSDs become more popular.
I mean, we can do stuff like that now anyway. We should be able to do way more. We shouldn't even have loading screens in the next generation, to be honest.
Speaking of long loading screens, that was a segue. Jason Schreier did a big expose story that we hadn't talked about the past few weeks about the troubled development of BioWare's Anthem. Apparently, according to the anonymous developers he is quoting, this was a very secretive project that a lot of sort of a cliquey company culture was keeping under wraps until it might have been too late to get a long, beautiful, timely development schedule going. And one question that I actually had for Liam is this dynamic he speaks here of how the game was in development for 7 years, but only entered production in final 18 months. What's the jargon there? What's the difference between development and production?
Well, development is like the whole process from like the genesis of the idea to when the game is released, right? That is the development of the game, right? And the development goes through multiple stages of pre-production, production, alpha, beta, full release, whatever, right? It depends on the studio you're at and whatever they
So
internally
production
call it.
is considered a step of development.
Yeah, so probably what happened in the case of Anthem, my guessing would be, especially from reading that article, is that they had the idea for what was it called? Dylan? For a long time?
Dylan, yeah, that was a code name
Yeah.
for the project for a
Yeah,
while.
so they obviously had
Wow.
that.
Named after Bob Dylan, not just a
Yeah.
normal, ordinary, the bland white guy in my head I'm picturing.
Yeah, like it's obvious they had ideas for Dylan. Like they had the concept art, they had their ideas, and it will have had a code name, but they just will have not had the time to put a team together, and that can happen. And you can have this concept art, and you can have like a prototype or something that just sits there for years and years, and technically it's in development because it exists, and people might tweak it and tune it or like look at it now and again. But obviously, BioWare have been making and pumping out games a lot over the past like 10 years. They made like Dragon Age 2, and then like they made Inquisition, and they made all the DLC, and then obviously they ended the Mass Effect trilogy, and then they did Andromeda. Like they are a big studio, but they're not that big. And these are big games, like big RPGs that take a long time. And obviously, from what we've read, they've all kind of had trouble development. So they probably just never got around to it until like once Dragon Age Inquisition ended. They were like, okay, shit, we need to get a team on this thing because like EA is like publishing it now, and Dylan has promise, and let's just see how it goes. And it probably just wasn't fleshed out. So it existed probably in some form, but they never actually just got around to actually making the game
And
until quite late.
He speaks to kind of an exclusionary office culture, keeping this project away from the rest of the team, while the team was
that is-
also
That is like a lot
That's
of
easy
studios.
to
like
imagine.
internal NDAs where you can't even tell people in the studio you work with, even if they can see your screen, like you can't tell them what you're doing and stuff
Wow.
like that. That happens a lot.
So while that was happening, they also never really seemed to be able to get a grasp over how to make third-person RPG games, including even a third-person team shooter on the Frostbite engine that has something like a 24-hour cycle for baking lighting. So I guess you got to play around with the lighting one day at a time behind the scenes here on this game. Casey Hudson also left the original Anthem team to become the general manager of BioWare. Then that slowed it down. David Gator, who was the writer, left as well. There's some subtle hinting in some quotes that he was kind of frustrated over how the project was failing to find a direction and formulate itself. And at that point, when he left, it had to be rewritten from scratch. And all those things combined together into a rush, unwieldy project that wasn't even supposed to be named Anthem. It was supposed to be called Beyond, but they had trouble securing the rights for it.
I wonder why, David Cage.
So, BioWare ended up responding to Kotaku, at first with a defensive blog post saying it's not cool to trash people in the game industry.
That came out 5 minutes after the article. And if anybody's seen the article, it's fucking long. So there's no way they read it.
Names were named in Schreier's piece, that is true, but I don't know if the intention was as disrespectful as Hudson initially thought it was. Because later on, after unpopular feedback for that first post, Casey Hudson wrote another one saying that they actually decided to take a look at themselves, restructure themselves corporately, try to open up and keep this cliquey exclusionary attitude out of the business. And that's cool. It's cool seeing a better response than usual to scandalous news stories. Like, that's the whole idea, right? Jason Schreier published this stuff not to disrespect it and to trash it, but to get the team to figure out how to make better games on a better schedule.
I don't think scheduling was the problem with this game.
So Casey Hudson is now swearing up and down that they're going to have a more focused studio and values so that we have clarity on what we're here and how we define a high standard. Defining better role clarity so that people can succeed better against clear expectations. Production changes that will provide for clearer project vision as well as a significant post-production period. And updated studio structure so that department directors can be fully focused on individual career support and well-being. Way to try to play that PR game. This all sounds like good stuff.
Well, I hope they do it. I hope
out of
for
a
those
shitty
guys,
situation. Yes.
I hope for those guys who had to suffer through some reading that type of article is like memories. I remember those days.
Oh dear, it gave you flashbacks.
Yeah, it was like PTSD. And but it's the thing, it's all too common in the games industry, especially in AAA. It doesn't surprise me. It's kind of sad.
You coming from you, that's verification. You know better than the rest of us.
I mean, it's sad because obviously, if you currently, I guess you count me as one of the lucky ones. I worked on a game that came out, sold millions, has an incredibly high Metacritic, whereas those guys who slaved away for years and months and put themselves through mental breakdowns to get the work done, for then the response of Anthem to be what it was, is, I can't even imagine. It must be so hard. It's not just like making, like you work on something for, let's use like YouTuber burnout, for example. Like, making videos constantly and stuff like that, and then just get all these comments and people just shitting all over you and doing that kind of thing, right? But imagine that on like a 4-year scale.
That's hard for me to imagine,
yeah. Where you have been working nights and you've barely slept and you've been crying because something's not worked, or you're falling out with people over making decisions and stuff. You've gone through the ups and downs of like 4 years of development, and the game comes out, and then it gets like a 50 on Metacritic. It is like critically panned, and everybody's like using it as memes as an example of bad games.
Oh,
like,
I have places to take this thought to.
Yeah.
Who do you think feels shittier? Actually, this is probably an easier question than I initially thought it was. Who do you think feels shittier about a job gone wrong at the end of the day? A, overworked, crunched AAA developers who work for years on a game that ends up getting panned, or B, the guy, thank God they did not release who, nor were they pinning blame on whoever is patient zero here, the construction workers that accidentally set Notre Dame on fire. Oh. Who do you think is, like, more embarrassed about their job?
Well, one of them might get fixed, and I think the Notre Dame will get fixed faster than Anthem.
Ooh, so damn.
That... This just in. Ubisoft has announced that they're going to be donating significant amounts to the fundraiser to restore Notre Dame, and they also are releasing Assassin's Creed Unity for free. That came out like while we were recording.
Okay, but guys, I really hope hope they patch out the bugs where if you go into the Notre Dame and collision is missing, it could be quite insulting.
So, speaking of AAA games that have a lot of work and budget poured into them and don't release well, this is just bringing multiple stories full circle, isn't it?
Yeah.
So supposedly Unity's not that bad these
now?
days. They released
these days. Okay.
Free DLC.
I hope so.
They put out a bunch of patches.
Can you imagine if you went in it and like they're giving it away for free, and you walk into like the Notre Dame in the game and like half the collision's missing because of bugs, and it just looks like it's been burnt down?
Would you rather ride on a ship that didn't have holes that need to be patched, or a ship that got patched multiple times?
I would rather ride on the ship that was well constructed in the first place, that maybe sort of had some ingenious tricks from maybe even a millennia ago, preventing the damage from being worse. I like that we can talk about this. If Notre Dame burned worse, we wouldn't be able to joke about it. It would be like a real, genuine tragedy.
I mean, it still is a tragedy.
Oh yeah, no, I don't mean to downplay, but it's also kind of inspiring seeing both how well the original structure stands up and how well the coverage of it has been, how the world really...
I get that, but I also get a certain sense... Like, I don't even want to go into this. I don't even know why I'm saying it, but I actually felt like kind of sad that so many people, so many world leaders, I should say, are willing to donate millions to rebuild the Notre Dame, but there are other places in the world that need a lot more of that money. That
poorer people outside of France. It's a conundrum, right? How do you reconcile these uncomfortable facts of the way our society works?
Like we'll give millions to the Notre Dame, but we'll leave all the poor Puerto Rican people who are still suffering without like electricity and shit. Like, yeah. Like that is like a little weird to me.
But it's also totally valid and totally true.
Yeah. I mean, I get 1,000% that the Notre Dame is like one of the most beautiful historical buildings in the world. And it needs repairing. But also, there are people who will need that money.
It represents centuries of struggle that still continue to this day as faced by people who probably need the money more than the building.
Exactly, right?
Oh, don't die.
Anyway,
before we, dig
deeper
ourselves
into loving buildings.
Oh, the hole is already deep, this podcast. I don't know how much we edited it out, but we're
Speaking
in there.
Of holes,
we're with the pigs.
We should dig into the mailbag hole.
Why you gotta say it like
You got a
that?
lot of,
Speaking of the mailbag hole, we need new
Hole.
questions in the inbox.
Hold back hole.
Yeah, if you have any
come
comments,
toss your letters into our hole.
if you want to
Paper cut.
argue,
Fill our holes.
if you want to argue about who deserves the money more, poor people or the Notre Dame Cathedral, please send in your statements of your opinion to dadandsonspodcast@gmail.com. Also, if you want to ask us about video games, that'd be cool too.
I mean, sometimes.
We got two fun little questions here. First one is from Jordan W, who is digging at old dogmas of video games. Hey guys, how do you feel about Ocarina of Time's supposed standing as, quote, the best game ever / greatest game of all time? Is it or was it ever a valid claim, or is it just nostalgia? Is the game flawless? Asking as a newcomer to the Zelda franchise.
Flawless?
I could tell you my
No.
life story as it relates to Ocarina of
Flawless?
Time.
No.
Yeah, I don't know about flawless though. I don't know if that
Game
was
is
ever...
so trash.
But when it came out,
Oh,
I'm
it's
joking. I'm joking.
Yeah, Matt, you're
Like-
gonna don't turn me into a fanboy.
there's definitely an argument that it's one of the most influential games of all time. And I definitely think for like the period of like 2 to 3 years after it came out, leading up to like the next generation of consoles that had like the PlayStation 2 era of games and then the
Yeah.
GameCube games of like Resident Evil 4 and stuff, it sat in that pantheon of being one of the best games ever made, for sure.
And then stuff like Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3 and then the Grand Theft Autos would show up later and challenge it for that throne, as it should.
Yeah, like the PlayStation 2 era stuff, yeah.
That's something
like
you don't hear as
Grand Theft
often
Autos.
as in previous years, is Ocarina being the best game ever. And that is something that I did genuinely believe up until
Me
around
too.
the time I was playing
Me
San
too.
Andreas and MGS3, and I was like, huh, okay, there's some other... They're catching up. The rest of the guys are catching up.
Honestly, until I probably played Super Mario Galaxy on the Wii, I honestly still thought Ocarina of Time was pretty much one of the best games of all time. Because there wasn't really a Zelda game coming out in between that could have changed that theory. And although my opinion of that game right now is different to how I felt back then, and if I wouldn't probably ever play Ocarina of Time again, I'm happy never playing that game again. I did play the 3DS
Ooh, I don't know
Cool.
about that.
like a couple of years ago. Ocarina of Time is the reason I live in Japan and work in games right now, for sure, like 100%, no doubt.
It is the reason I am on this podcast. It's the reason I have my channel.
Exactly, it is 100% the reason I am here, in both regards, on the podcast and also just working in games in Japan. Like,
my
hands down.
opinion of the game's quality and how well it's aged sure as hell has dwindled over the years.
Yeah, agreed.
But my reverency for it, I feel, has stayed the same, if not increased, because
Yeah.
I still feel like if you want to get a kid to fall in love with video games and what they can do, sitting them in front of Ocarina of Time might be the surest possible method of making that happen. Because
it certainly did for me and my
it
brother.
does a lot to make a true classic, I feel, that I've, like, I can't say it's grown up with me over time, but I've grown up to appreciate it, especially when I learned more about Shintoism and the 3 regalia of Japan, and how they're really, in order to be the emperor of Japan, you have to go to these temples and find secret artifacts that are hidden throughout Japan, and nowadays they really just kind of get presented to the emperor during a ceremony. But that makes Zelda make so much more sense. And there was also a conscientious effort at Ocarina to incorporate a lot of the kind of Western hero mythos with the Arthurian sword and the stone, and following a lot of the Joseph Campbell hero's journey tropes. And I consider it like a cultural touchstone piece in that regards. Like, it is a video game classical legend. It's it you know, like the Odyssey, it might not exactly be appropriate to worship heroes who evoke values that we have found to be destructive over the years, but we still got to give it credit where credit's due. Like, Ocarina was a formative touchstone that pulled from a lot of classical resources to evoke the cultures of what it was trying to represent and appeal to the cultures of who it was trying to get to. And like it's an earnest effort to make a romantic grand adventure of a video game hero journey, and I appreciate that. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it.
It is most definitely the most influential game upon my life, and the one thing that will certainly never change is it will always appear on Game of the Year, Game of All Time lists for now and forever. That will never change, no matter what, I think. Matt, how do you sort of feel about Ocarina of Time?
As a guy who didn't play at launch, like, is it nostalgia? I would say
Definitely.
yes. Is the game
Fuck yeah.
flawless? Hell no.
No.
Hell no. Not even a little bit.
God, no.
I'd argue with you a bit on the nostalgia, but I'm not arguing about flawless. That game's camera, that game's level design, that game's hints and puzzle systems, they are not
Oh
flawless.
no, level design even now I think is tight. Apart from like maybe the fucking desert temple, the Gerudo Valley fucking
But
witch sister bullshit.
the thing is there's nothing wrong with being the greatest of all time at the time. With
Yeah.
Yeah.
they pushed the bar at the time.
In fact, that's the best you can possibly be,
at that
realistically
time.
speaking.
Yeah, you can't go like. Of course, games are better now. Like technology is different. Everything is different. That game was a stepping stone for a lot of things. Just like Lord of the Rings or any of those types of like books inspired like movies of elves and all that. Like you wouldn't have certain things now if things didn't come before. And I think
Like Z targeting,
yeah,
camera lock-ons.
exactly. And Zelda
Have-
made
having-
that.
It's super weird because everyone will like refer back to A Link to the Past being super inspirational, and it certainly was, but it was inspirational for like a lot of Zelda clones. Like there was a lot of like Konami made like a ton of like Zelda like weird clone things, or like there was a lot of 16-bit adventure games that were inspired by A Link to the Past, but after Ocarina of Time, there wasn't Zelda clones. There was just like a whole new genre of video games. It was like the action adventure game, like games like Fable and stuff like that that just came out
And
of
Star Fox Adventure. That was a good. Anyone remember that? No.
JonTron does.
Okay.
This is the one with the dinosaurs.
Stairfax
dinosaurs.
temperatures.
And you play as the Fox Girl.
Dinosaur Planet.
Oh my god, you know what I just realized?
Dinosaur Planet.
JonTron's Star Fox Adventures video, that I might not be on this podcast right now if that didn't exist.
Really?
Yeah, that was...
We have JonTron to thank for George.
Those were good old times, huh, George? Good old times.
Those were much better older times. Yes, you are correct. All right.
And that's all, folks. That's all on that subject.
How did we get from Ocarina of Time to shitting on JonTron?
Anyways, let's get back on track. We have any more thoughts about Ocarina of Time and its reverency and all the little things that have influenced us that would cause us not to be here if we hadn't countered them? Yeah. Any more examples of those things that might not have aged well, guys?
Final Fantasy VII. Final Fantasy VII is like one of the other examples of that time where it will it'll never go away. It will always be considered.
Matt has thoughts. Matt recently played it, actually.
Yeah.
Matt loved this one, right?
Which one? Wait, what?
FF7.
Final Fantasy VII.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know my thoughts. The first disc was really magical, but I feel like it was a lot of nostalgia that made me love that first disc. But that's the
I
first.
loved
think
it
that's
as a
the thing.
kid. I'm afraid to go back.
You don't, after you play the first disc and the
Just stop.
grinding and you don't really grind too much. You don't have to grind much. You can still beat the game by just like really stumbling yourself through the game. Like you don't have to sit back and grind. That's if you want to do all the extra stuff. And I didn't do too much of the extra stuff. I just went through. I played a couple of the mini games, whatever, and just went through. And you can do that, but is it amazing? After that first strong first disc, no, it's not. It's not, and it's
It
not
is
a bad
weird,
game at all. It's just It's just not the greatest of all time or anything like that. But back in the day when you had time, you came home, you had that one game, you played that one game. Yeah, that made sense back in the day. Nowadays, you don't want to sit here and go through this boring crap.
It shows like a great amount of growth in you as a person if you can look back on those things that you love so much and truly realize now the reality of it, like going back and being like, you know what, I remember why I adored this game so much at the time and how much this game had an impact on other things that I love, but it is not flawless. It has this problem. This is not great. I didn't really think about this when I first played. That shows at least a tremendous amount of growth as you as a person instead of like immediately just going like, no, Ocarina of Time is the best game of all time.
I would be worried about myself if my favorites hadn't changed since I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you got to open your mind up to new things. And I'm not saying that if you absolutely still love Ocarina of Time that you need to grow up, little kid, but it's just maybe you want to play a few more games, because trust me, there is games out there that you probably would love if you
like getting drunk with robot sex workers in Valhalla.
Yes, you might love that because you connect with it in some way. They made that game
more ways than
for
one.
a reason. That's a very interesting story.
More holes than one.
I'm getting real nostalgic though with this topic. Do you guys remember when everyone had a FF7 avatar on their forum profile?
Yeah, everyone was Cloud and Tifa.
I was
probably more of the Zelda crew.
but I still saw a lot of them. I was in a Star Wars forum during a lot of my adolescence. I played a lot of the Jedi Knight games. I'm looking forward to Jedi Order, but I know it's not going to control as good. And yeah, even on the Star Wars forums, everyone had FF avatars.
I remember reading a lot of fanfiction.net Final Fantasy VII spin-offs.
Everyone loved Final Fantasy VII during the new millennium. Like, I want to say up until 2007, 8.
Yeah.
Like, I just remember Newgrounds being flooded with, like, Zelda and Final Fantasy-based animations, like, by Legendary Frog and the Super Flash Brothers and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, the Legendary Frog, I only play the games the magazines tell me. Yeah, and this is why I'll never have a wife.
It's the only one I need.
Super Mario RPG was
only game
so
that
great.
I play.
Wow, Legendary Frog, that's a name I haven't heard in a long, long time.
You know what game I can go back to though that I can still play to this day is probably Super Mario World.
Yeah,
because it's fucking amazing.
It's kind of
and
timeless,
has
right?
not aged.
Yeah.
Like of course there's nostalgia with it, but like I don't know, there's like so much to do. It's a huge game. And
it feels good, like it controls good, even though it's
given
back then.
the relatively simple nature of its graphics and gameplay, it's hard to imagine even like quality of life features. Save states would be nice, and once you got that out of the way, though, what else can you even do with it?
I don't know. It's amazing. To me, it's one of that to me is one of the best games.
Yeah, it's a good game to come back to. I played it recently the other day, actually. I still remembered where the keys were, and I was just like, oh, this is nice. This is nice. It's real nice. I still remember what happens when you collect everything. I remember doing that with a friend, the upstairs apartment. We collected everything and everything changed. All the graphics changed and everything. I was like, man, my mind was blown back then.
So good.
I love those games.
Jordan's a newcomer to the Zelda franchise, and I'm going to I was thinking of Star Wars just now. I'm going to give it an analogy to Star Wars. You kind of got to be a kid when you see this stuff to have it latch onto you the way it did with us.
Yeah.
I still think you could play Ocarina of Time, the 3DS port, and you would have a good time.
Like if you're playing
For sure.
Ocarina of Time as an adult in 2019, you're probably not going to get why children in 1998 would have grown up thinking it's the best game ever.
Yeah.
So maybe play other stuff from the time to be able to build that contextual point of reference for what it was doing that other games weren't.
Go play Quest 64.
Yeah, play Mega Man Legends.
Go play Quest 64 and then play Ocarina of Time, and you'll kind of understand why.
Play those back to back against Metal Gear Solid Ocarina of Time and Half-Life 1, and then maybe you'll get it. Like 3D games were shit before that like trifecta.
And Super Mario 64, of course.
Yeah. Like 10 years from now, when VR is different and you go back to play Job Simulator, like, why did everyone like Job Simulator? Because it was the only game.
Why did everybody like Labo VR? This fucking butter-ass resolution can't see shit.
And then something like Super Hot VR comes out, and it's like the one with soul and energy. And anyways, I don't know if people will remember Super Hot VR. Hopefully they will. Let's move on to the next question, because we've been at that one for a while.
Yeah.
And that was not even that complicated of a question. Shandon P asks, if you were a game company, what kind of snacks would you force your employees to have to eat in the break room?
Fruit. Because I've had free pizza for 4 years, and it is not good for you.
It's not.
Fruit. I would force health down them.
Last night, I cut up some pears, some apples, some kiwi, and some bananas.
Delicious.
And it was delicious. I would definitely agree with fruit. Probably more healthier
Honestly,
options.
fresh fruit.
Yeah.
Free fresh fruit every day.
Mm-hmm.
They
and
can
good fruit.
Take as many
Not
as
that
they
trash
want.
stuff.
I would give them a bathtub full of hummus with never-ending pita.
Maybe some celery on there. Maybe
That's how you save Anthem's development.
Ooh.
Good snacks.
Damn.
I'm pretty sure those guys had more pizza than they could probably handle.
Ugh.
Initial answer to this question, though, was the actual Square Enix method. Fill a closet full of calorie mates.
Oh, that's gross.
I mean, in Japan, you could give them all the mineral jelly or the vitamin jelly. It's pretty good, actually.
You know, unsalted popcorn is a good work snack. It's like keeps your face and your mouth busy. It's nice having something to chew on while tacking away at a computer.
A yogurt. A yogurt's a good snack.
I think it's.
I mean, if we're going traditional, like a traditional video game studio, if you want to really video game it up, it's fucking pizza. Just
Yeah,
pizza.
I was
Mountain
about to
Dew,
say, I think it's
Doritos.
important to note that this is a fantasy scenario. In reality, we'd probably just get pizza. But
that's the reality of most companies.
If money wasn't an option, if physics weren't an option,
Fruit.
man, never-ending hummus.
Because trying to force people to eat fruit, you know, it's gonna be a bad conversation, man.
Like but if it was part of your contract, right?
Did you have to eat fruit?
If it was part of the contract that you had to eat whatever the company provided for you in the morning as like a snack, I would make sure that the snack that was designated to be mandatorily eaten would be a banana or something. Unless you have a doctor's note saying you're allergic to bananas.
Yeah, okay. I'm allergic to fruit. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Get this banana down here.
I'd
Where's
want to
the
fill the
donuts,
closet
man?
up with Fallout 4 promotional branding Nuka-Cola.
Okay. Ooh. Ooh.
Or some GTA Pisswasser beer.
Do they sell that?
I remember we got like some
I'd buy it. I'd buy a
mock
Pisswasser.
cans. I don't know if they had anything in them. I can't remember. Pisswasser. Well, there you go.
There you go. Yeah.
Send your emails. Send your mail to our hole.
I'm like amazed at how funny I thought the answers to that question would be, and how actually like reasonable and realistic we
serious.
approached it with. Like I thought everyone was gonna be like wall chicken, red potions, heart refill, and no, we're just like hummus and
Each other's
fruit,
children.
But who are we kidding? We're probably just gonna do pizza.
Sorry. Autobiological.
Anticlimactic. We need to be goofier. We need to
Goofy.
refill our batteries, get our senses of humor back, and go to sleep.
Well, one of us needs to do that.
And that's me, obviously.
But yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah,
like-
Matt. Your
it's
day is
12
only just ended.
It's like 12 a.m. here, dude. Come on.
Dude, it's like 2 a.m. here, so the 2-hour gap between us is like
Yeah, man, it's
super
insane.
hard, man.
It's 16 XM where I am, and I'm melting into my chair.
Living in the Twilight Zone.
What is that a reference of?
It's almost 17 o'clock over here. I gotta go launch myself into the sleeping refresh capsule of my spaceship.
All right.
You guys saw the pictures of the black hole, right?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, the Xbox Red Ring.
You were watching time getting sucked out of the universe in that picture. Is that crazy or what?
It's amazing. It's
What?
truly fucking amazing.
How are we going to calculate time if we're traveling through space and it gets wacky around black holes?
What is even weirder is that was an event that happened millions of years ago. Like, it's time being sucked away millions of years ago.
Right.
Maybe
So it's time that existed millions of years ago that has no longer existed for millions of years.
maybe one day 17 o'clock XM will become a thing.
I have a question before we end.
Yes.
That black hole made me really think about this video I watched recently, which is a time lapse of the future, which shows what would happen. It's a theory of what would happen later on after millions and millions and trillions of years.
I think I've seen that.
Right.
Like nature reclaims the land kind of thing.
And we all die. And
Yeah.
we have to go to the stars.
No spoilers there.
Yeah, all the stars die and black holes, are everywhere. So I wanted to ask because for me, I know my answer. Would you, if you had a chance to be immortal, would you live forever?
I've thought about this so many times.
I would live forever, just so I can just see what happens to the world. I'm just so
Yeah, but what if you're
interested.
floating in space?
Yeah, what happens after the world's done? Like you got a lot of time to float around to whatever next planet has intelligent creatures, and that might not make it worth it.
Everything has a price, dude. Everything has a price.
No, but you'll see so many things that you'll eventually reach the heat death of the universe where it will just be you in the middle.
Yeah, when the black holes suck everything down eventually, what do you do?
Everything has a
No,
price. That is the price.
Yeah.
Living forever has a price. You will be
My
might go
answer
insane.
is then a resounding no. I'd like to live for a very long time, but it's the going insane part that I feel is the part of immortality I don't want.
Yeah, that worries me. Yeah.
Seeing everyone you love die around you.
Because then you're insane forever.
Lovely.
That's a tough one because you would love and then get over it and then love and then get over it and then love and then get over it and you would just see multiple people die who you loved.
Yeah.
Do you have infinite love though, even though you have infinite life, Matt?
Actually, see, the thing is, I'd want a hard cutoff date. Basically, I'd want to be.
There might be a way for you to kill yourself. That could be.
Yeah,
I mean,
like your journey.
If that's implied, then
Are we
yeah.
talking vampire immortality where they can be killed, but they just don't get diseases or old age? Because that sounds nice. That sounds perfect, actually.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I'd want that kind of immortality. Not I can get crushed down to a cell and I just have to be a conscious floating cell if someone decides to try to kill me. Like, that would suck.
I would say that nothing can kill you. The worst, like it has to be something drastic because you get to live
Yeah,
forever.
that's not going to be worth it in the long run because eternity is a hell of a lot longer than the interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would still choose it.
Wow, brave.
Call me crazy.
Well, you can report back next week.
Tweet at me. I would love to hear people's answers. Actually,
I need a joint for this conversation.
yes, yeah. Well, it's not legal over there in Atlanta, is it? It's not, right? It's legal over here, my brother. It's legal. When you come over here, man, I'll show you a good time. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Have we ever had a joint conversation on this podcast before?
No.
Like just
I wish.
the most
Fucking wish.
pretentious and presumptuous thought experiments that everyone does.
We did just talk about Ocarina of Time for like 20 minutes. That to me is
Yeah.
like a video game joint conversation. Like, oh my god, do you remember Ocarina of Time? Oh,
Well,
shit, dude.
I know what the title of this episode is going to be called.
Do you remember Ocarina of Time? Oh, shit, dude.
Join us next week with George's CBD oil and my TCH oil.
Yeah.
And fine, I'll get drunk, because I guess that's all I can do.
You should probably
in
do that
Japan.
one day. A nice drunk podcast or show. You should do that.
You guys don't realize I'm just drunk every episode.
At 2 a.m.? That's unwise.
Doing this podcast is unwise.
You know what? You're not wrong.